Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. We got the latest in Manchester United news. Ruben Amorim and his side have adapted. That is the statement that we are making here today. We're also going to be talking a little bit about Adam Wharton or Elliott Anderson. You guys get involved in the chat. Get in the comments down below after the show. As well, if you're watching it after it's live, make sure you get in the comments. Smash the like button, help the channel grow. It's greatly appreciated. It is a big deal and it is a big help. So make sure you get that done. If you're new and you enjoy the content, subscribe and hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss a live. We're on our way to 3,500 subscribers. We're at 3,200 and that thing hasn't updated yet. 3,227, I believe we're at. So we are making our way there. It's good to be here with everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. Listen, we're going to talk about some news stuff as well. There's a couple pieces of news that we got to get to, but we're going to do topical discussions. I've been enjoying sort of the just randomness of the topical discussions going all over the place. It might make the show a little bit messy, but I think it makes the conversation very good. So just one thing that I kind of want to start the show off with today before we hit a couple news pieces is, I was kind of sitting here thinking, from yesterday, what we talked about. And, I kind of just noticed that, right now, the conversation around United, I mean, there's a little bit of a conversation about it, but not in the way that it was. Yeah. There's a little bit of a conversation in that, it seems like Ruben is sort of vindicating himself now, with the whole system thing. And something that I noticed is no one's really talking about formations or systems or Amorim's playing players out of positions anymore over these past 3 weeks. The same manager that everybody laughed at is now on level points with Pep, a point above Liverpool, and 2 points above the world champions Chelsea. All Amorim ever wanted was to change the mentality of these players, and now they're winning by fighting for every ball. And I think he's proven that no tactic in the world works if players don't fight first. We've won 3 in a row. They've tasted the victory. They've tasted a little bit of consistency. And I think they're hungry for it now. I think they they got a little bit of taste for it. I think their hunger has grown for it. And winning can become a habit, can become contagious. And maybe, just maybe, no one will ever again say, we don't know if United will turn up. And for me, the feeling is that Amorim is building something special. And if he can keep it up, I think he can get there. Obviously, he has to continue winning. Obviously, the squad has to continue moving forward. And they have to keep fighting each and every week. They have to keep putting the levels that they have been doing for the last 3 weeks. But these last 3 weeks have felt a lot more, again, I said it yesterday, it's felt a lot more like what we expected Ruben's team to be at Manchester United, what we hoped he was going to bring. I'm excited because I've always said I want a manager to bring to United what he's been successful with. And too many times in the past, we've had a manager come and conform to what we had currently at that time. And my problem with that is whatever we had was never good enough. And our identity wasn't really great. And we needed a new one. And we needed a modern one. And we needed a better one. And Amorim has stuck by his principles. He's stuck by his laurels. He's stuck by his ideas. He's stuck by his system. And we seem to be treading down a path where this may potentially actually pay off for us. So I'm very happy about that because, again, I just think, one of the things about Ten Hag was that we expected the Ajax football that he was playing to come to Manchester United. I think we were all heavily disappointed and we felt heavily let down when he made that statement and said that I cannot play that style of football here at Manchester United. Now, he might have had good reasons for it. Maybe he didn't have the players. Maybe he didn't have the personnel. But he didn't try. And Ruben is doing the opposite. And while, there's obviously takeaways as to look at Ten Hag's win ratio compared to Ruben's win ratio. It's a fair point and a fair argument, and I get it. But sometimes you have to go down the longer, harder path, the more difficult path, the path with more bumps in it, the one that is more of a struggle to go down to get a bigger reward at the end. And I think that's where Ruben's and Ineos' sort of gamble is kind of pointing in the direction to right now, because the move that we made to hire this guy to play the way we are playing now totally was not the smoothest and easiest transition. And obviously we've seen what's come out of that. We struggled immensely last season with him coming in here. He struggled immensely. He's had, a torrid time, and we've had a torrid time. And now we're seeing a little bit of light. And Ruben did promise us at the end of last season that, the best days are yet to come, and that the storm is over. And, I wished that those statements were going to, deliver us some fruit. And hopefully, we are there. I think we are in the vicinity of that happening. Again, it could, how long can it last? I don't think anybody really has the answer, because this is a little bit, in terms of under Ruben Amorim and his team, it's a little bit of uncharted territory. It's a little bit, new. We don't know how long this can last. We don't know how far this can go, because I don't think we've actually ever gotten to this point yet where we have some consistency. We look a bit different. We feel a bit different. I was talking to a couple of my friends yesterday, United fans, and, even they were really excited, and they're not the type of guys. They watch some content, but they're not really into fan channels too much. And, they're not like you and me, where we will spend hours sort of pondering, thinking about different things going on in United, having discussions with people, all over the world or on the internet. They're not really into that. They're more of just, regular football fans and United fans. And even they were saying, the match against Brighton, they were like, it was exciting to watch us. I thoroughly enjoyed the way we played, and, just the feeling of the team and the way we set up and the way we went out into the match. And, I think that's the general consensus around Manchester United right now. So we got a lot more to discuss, so we're going to get into a few things. But, Lyle is here, says, hey, Eric and all you Reds, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Hope everything is good. Dar Crow is here as well. Says, so are we playing Amorim Ball of Sporting? I think we're getting there. I wouldn't say that we're there yet. I think we are getting there to a certain extent. I think it has to be a little bit different for Manchester United and for the Premier League. I don't think you can 100% replicate what he did at Sporting, but it has to have similar identity. It has to have a similar basis. And I think that's what he's been trying to do, because what he played at Sporting is what he plays. That's his identity as a manager. It's his football. And that's what we were always going to kind of get when we hired him. But you have to sort of make a special version of it for United and for the Premier League. And I think we're seeing that, because if you look at even the last, 2 matches or so, or 3 matches, he's made some minor tweaks to the system. He's made some minor tweaks to sort of the on-field shape. Even when he makes minor tweaks to, in one game he will slot Maguire into center back, as I like to call it, and push the lid out to right center back. He does make these tweaks. He does make these changes. He is a stubborn man on some things, but he is not naive. He might make mistakes, because, again, I think he's still learning for sure, but I think he's learned a lot in his almost 1-year period here. And I think it's taken some time for him to adapt. It's taken some time for the team to adapt to him, and how he wants to play. But it seems like they are getting a handle on it. And it seems like Ruben has learned a lot. So, I think he's trying to get his football to be played here that what he played at Sporting to a certain degree, but he's going to have to elevate it, and it's got to be a different sort of level at Manchester United in the Premier League. And I think what we're seeing right now is if you look at last season, we struggled immensely with it, and it was really, really bad. And this season, it seemed to have improved. Now, of course, he's got the signings in, so the signings have made a world of difference for him, and rightfully so. I mean, I think a lot of us that said, Ruben needs a preseason, he needs some signings, he needs some players that have characteristics that fit a bit more to his system. I think right now we can kind of feel a bit vindicated. I'm not going full in on it because, again, it is only 3 matches, and my head is still there. With that, I understand that, and I understand that we need a lot more for it to be concrete, for it to be something super solid that we can kind of, kick our feet up a little bit and relax a little bit more. I think we're still a bit on edge. I think there's still a potential for it to go the opposite way and go backwards because, again, like Ruben said the other day, 1 result or 2 results will have a massive impact either way. If they're positive results, it's going to project us higher, and it's going to keep us higher, and it's going to keep us away from the bottom half. But if we have 2 negative results, we can go back down to where we were, about 2 weeks ago. So we do have to keep that in mind. We can't get too carried away yet, but the feeling is good. The feeling is positive. And this is the first time we've really had some sort of a momentum under Ruben and under this his version of United. So everybody wants to hold on to it. We want to keep it going. We want it to keep going as long as possible. Dark Rose says it won't last. It will be found out by Sean Dyche and Thomas Frank. I don't know about that. I mean, these are the tests. These are the tests that we need to keep going into. They could be found out, but it might not be found out. We may have turned a corner. This team may have a certain swagger. From what I'm seeing from the team, they are fighting a lot more. They have more confidence in themselves. They are playing more positively, which goes a long way in football. And I think a lot of our problems, especially from last season, and if you go previously to that, United have been playing a lot of sort of scared football. We have been scared on the pitch. We have been unsure. That leads to taking too much time on the ball, not making the correct decisions. I think there's a feeling of they're playing more as a team, which is less selfishness going on, trusting the teammates more. These things have huge impacts in the team. It's not just about ability. And that's why I said in the beginning, what I said is that no system in the world, no tactic, and no group of players, no matter how good they are ability-wise, they will go nowhere if you don't have a fighting spirit. If you're not fighting for every ball, it doesn't matter what tactic you have. It doesn't matter what system you play. If you don't have warriors on the pitch battling from minute 1 to minute 90, throw everything else out the window. And that's sort of been the core problem at our club for quite some time. Too many times we've had players give up, not try, jogging on the pitch, just not up to the levels. But it doesn't feel that way right now. We had a bit of a rocky start this season, and there was talks about, he's lost a little bit of the dressing room, or the players are upset with the system. Nobody's talking about that anymore. And it's because the players have proved that they have not given up on the system, they have not given up on themselves, they have not given up on the manager, and they are out there fighting. And they have showed that over the last 3 weeks. And the hope is that they continue to show that over the next couple weeks, leading up into the international break. Forest is going to be a tough match. They are home, and they're playing Dyche ball. I think it's a huge test because again, for me, it's one of those things where we have struggled immensely against teams that have low blocks, that don't allow space, that don't really go out and play football. We're probably going to have most of the possession. Against Brighton, we didn't have most of the possession. It was a big counterattack. We're still more comfortable counterattacking and not having full possession, in matches. I mean, the Liverpool match, we won that match again. We did not have full possession. We did counterattack. We played quite defensive. It was different to Brighton. But even Brighton, and we were home. I mean, Brighton had a lot of the possession. They had the majority of the possession. But we did excellent in attacking. We did excellent in transition. We did excellent in being clinical and finishing. So we're still far away in terms of becoming more of a Ruben Amorim team, because the counterattacking, and maybe that's an element that sticks around, but the counterattacking, we've been trying to do that for 10 years. Under, 4 or 5 managers, except for Ralph, when he tried to do gang and pressing, and it lasted about 25 minutes on the pitch, and then the players said, fuck this, I don't want to run anymore, and they gave up on him. But, yeah. Lyle says Dyche has to look at 3 different versions of United over the last 3 games and try to adapt to that. Figuring out what United he is going to get will be very difficult. Advantage United for sure. I would even go as far as to say, Lyle, that Ruben tinkers based on the opponent. So that's why we don't really get the same sort of starting lineup. I mean, again, if you look at Ruben, he does not do winning team stays on. He doesn't usually do it. He usually does make a change or two. He might keep the most of it the same, but he does like to tinker based on the opponent, which again, I kind of like that. But besides me liking it, I understand it, because that's his thing. It's not about changing. It's not about changing. It's not about going into the match starting and you go, oh, look at United, they're starting in a diamond today. We're starting in the same way, but let's see how it plays, because it will play different. Again, the Brighton match, you had Luke Shaw dropping into CDM. You had Luke Shaw dropping into the midfield. We basically had a 4-back. We essentially had about a 3 midfield, and then the two 10s are basically wingers, or one of them is a winger and one of them is a sort of an inside forward with the striker. So that change, that doesn't play every single game. It hasn't happened every single match. It's happened sometimes when he decides that he thinks that that's what's the best situation. It happened one time when we played against City and Yoro was basically dropping into CDM and Bruno was allowed to go forward. But we don't play every match like that. So that is his sort of tactical adjustments that he does. And you have to look at the shape and you have to look at the formation when we are playing on the pitch, not, the sofa score lineup that they give you before the match kicks off, because that shape changes constantly on the pitch. And this is why I always like this system, because I think it can be quite fluid if you execute it properly, and it does quite well. So, and Elias says again, he's cautiously optimistic, of course. Yeah, I think for now we got to be cautiously optimistic. We can't get too carried away, because again, if we suffer a bad result at the weekend, it's going to be a different picture. We're going to be, it's going to bring us down a couple notches. But the players have to keep level-headed. The players need to stay focused. Us fans, we can be a little bit more, what I would like to say, extravagant, I guess. But the players, for sure, Ruben Amorim and his team, and obviously the message from Ruben, and he keeps making it clear, and I have no doubts about it, that, behind the scenes, he's doubling down, tripling down. It's 1 week. Every week is a new week. Every week is a new match, and we got to continue to play and focus solely on this match and take it week by week. And that's where we're at. Niche fan says liked. Thank you, Niche fan. How you doing, buddy? And Elias is spot on. And the personnel changes to adapt to the opponent has been smart. Yeah, and I think he's gotten better at that as he's been here. I think he's gotten smarter to it. I think one of the things that's really helped him is that I think he's actually finally understanding the opposition in the Premier League. I think he's understanding the football a lot more. And And I think that him understanding that is helping in his, personnel changes to adapt to the opponent. Because I think at times last season, he might have been naive to a certain extent in certain matches. But I also talked about yesterday, he does have a little bit of an experience because, listen, the competition is a lot greater in the Premier League. The teams are a lot tougher, and there's more, it's not as big as a gap as it is in the Portuguese league. But one of the things, and again, this is what I'm going to be looking for at the weekend. One of the things that does happen in the Portuguese league is that it is the top three teams, which is Porto, Sporting, and Benfica. And the rest of them are nowhere near the level of those three, yeah? So what happens is when you have Ruben Amorim managing Sporting, and they are undefeated, and they are winning in Europe, and they are undefeated, and they haven't suffered a loss, and they're averaging about 3 to 4 goals a game. Every other team, so you're talking about almost like, I'm pretty sure there's 20 teams in that league. There's about 17 of them are playing low blocks, super ultra defensive, not playing football, and basically just low blocks, trying to block up everything, and staying compact. And his team found ways to win. Now, that's sort of the next thing that I'm looking for Ruben to kind of get and solve, because that has been a major issue for us. Even under Erik ten Hag, I think in all 3 seasons, even the first season where he did exceptionally well, we would do okay playing against teams that are a bit more open and go out and play their identity of football and actually play attacking football. We've always massively struggled against a team with a low block. We've always massively struggled to create chances to score goals against a team that plays defensive. And for me, I'm excited for this Forest match because now that Dyche is there and they're going to play the football that they're going to be at, with the form that we're in, I want to see if we can unlock them. Because if we can unlock them, it's just another step towards, this is different and things have changed and we are heading in a different direction and we've found some answers and we're moving forward. So I think it's a good test for Ruben. I think it's a good test for the squad. And we have to be tested at all times. And we need to see if we can prove ourselves week in, week out. And I'm happy for these tests. This is a test against Nottingham is a test, and against Tottenham is going to be another test as well. So we're going to have about 4 back-to-back different tests. And we've passed 2, and we got another 2 that we potentially can pass. And we could go into the international break as very, very happy fans. Niche fan says training was done good. Now with the players need the ball. That was Lucky. Sorry, you guys have the same color. You have the same color thing. Niche fan says, can you please rate my updated all-time United 11? 4-3-3, De Gea, Evra, Elliott, Vidic, Valencia, Casemiro, Park, Rooney, and Buemo and Cunha. Listen, I like it, but there's probably some things I'd change in there. I don't want to be mean. I'd probably give it, I'm going to be honest with you, I'd probably give it a 6.5. You're talking about an all-time United team. You got to put in, and listen, I don't know how old you are, Niche fan, but maybe for you, that's an all-time United great team. But we have so many players. I mean, you're talking about George Best, David Beckham, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Michael Carrick, Cantona, Dennis Irwin, Yap Stam. I feel like Roy Keane. If I didn't say Roy Keane, you're missing a lot of players there. But you know what? All those players are great, and they are big players, and I like a lot of them. I think De Ligt, you can't really put him in there yet, and you can't put Buemo and Cunha in there yet or Casemiro. They gotta win things. They gotta win things. So, yeah. But I like that you put that in there, and that's good stuff. Maybe come with another one next week or something like that, or on the next show. Um, Lucky says Cunha, Mason Mount, Dorgu, Xerxes, Mazawari, Aiden Evan in. And Niche Fan says, love your new studio. Thank you. We just debuted it yesterday. And I like it very much as well. So it's good to not be in a box anymore. Well, I am sort of in a box, but I got a bigger box. I've upgraded now. I'm not a mime anymore. And I can move around more freely and, do things. So I like that. Axe Lord is here, says hello. How you doing, buddy? How's everything? And the lie also carried on is that Fletcher counted the gigs, etc. So many. I mean, there is so many. It is really hard to make like sort of an all-time United great lineup, because we've had so many. And I think in recent years we've had so little, unfortunately, because we haven't been winners. We need to be winners. So, Niche Fan says, I just feel Mbeumo and Cunha will win us the Prem. Well, I think what I will say, and I said this yesterday, and the feeling is still here. I don't think it was going to change in one day because nothing's happened and nothing's happened to change that. But I think Mbeumo and Cunha right now are two players that we have signed that they sort of embody the Manchester United spirit that we've been kind of yearning for these years. I do feel like they understand what Manchester United is supposed to be about. They do feel a bit like, I don't know, maybe this is a bit of a reach, but they do feel like Fergie type player, era type players. They have sort of the fighting spirit. They are making an impact in our squad. They have made an impact, and it's been quite quickly. And I think that Premier League experience is a big help. And I think that Ineos got that part spot on. And when I say Ineos, you know who I mean. I'm talking about Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox and Vivel and, whoever else is involved in terms of making the decisions in terms of what players we're going for and what we're looking at and the scouting and all those people. So, well, Casemiro is the best CDM in history. And he might well be in if that's your opinion, but at United, he hasn't won anything in terms of like a Premier League or a Champions League. So he might be an all-time great in his position, but he did all of that stuff at Real Madrid. And he's doing very well for us, Uncle Casemiro. Uncle Cass, he's doing really good right now. I think the lack of amount of matches we have to play is helping him, and I think he's going to have probably a very big and impactful season for the rest of the season because he doesn't have to play as many matches as we normally would, which is, I think, a benefit because he is a bit of a lack of legs. He is up there in age, and he's only getting older, so he is only losing pace as we move on, but he is performing very, very well. I mean, if you look at our squad, I mean, even if you look at somebody like Luke Shaw, he's generally been performing well as well. I mean, there's been a couple matches, I think, this season where he didn't play great, but I would extend that then to the rest of the team because, in the match that he didn't play good, and I don't think you could say really the majority of the team played good. It's not like the majority of our team played well and he didn't play well. It was basically he didn't play well, but 75 to 80% of our team didn't play well in that match either. I mean, Luke Shaw is having sort of a resurgence, playing in that position, and he's putting in good performances in that back line, and Lemons is coming in, and, he's had a big impact as well. So a lot of things are going really good for Manchester United right now. And, fans are really excited for it, and, it makes sense. Axis Hullet is the best CDM in history. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of players that we can have an argument about it. Maybe we could do it one show. Maybe we could do it on Friday, Football Friday. We'll have a nice discussion about different players in different positions. Maybe we'll do a ranking system. I'll pull up the ranking tier. But yeah, and Niche Fan says exactly. They understand the history and the fight for the badge. Bruno has it too. Well, if you remember, Ruben did say at the end of last season that he said, we're going to buy players that want to play for Manchester United, not play for a competition, which he was alluding to the Champions League, because many players out there, specifically, there's one off the top of my head, which is Victor Gyökeres. He did not want to come to us because we were not in the Champions League. well, so, and we didn't end up getting him, obviously, but Brian Mbeumo, as soon as we, you know, told him, we want you, he basically told every other club to F off, and, he rejected all offers. Even the fact that Tottenham were ready to make an offer for more money than we were putting in, and Brentford wanted that deal, but they could not budge Mbeumo because he already had given us the green light and he had already promised us, which goes a long way in today's time. It shows you kind of the character that he has, because you know what, he could have went there with Thomas Frank. Maybe they would have gave him more money than we did. Maybe it would have been more comfortable. He knows the manager. But he really wanted to come to Manchester United, and he couldn't be budged from that. And so Brentford had to accept the deal. And that's why that deal took so long, by the way, because they were really trying to flip it, and change his mind to go to Tottenham. And Cunha has been talking about how he's a United fan for years now. I mean, like 2 years ago, Cunha's wearing a United shirt in the offseason. He was talking about he wanted to come to Manchester United. So we've gotten two good players with abilities that actually love this club and are fans of this club and respect this football club. And I think we're just seeing that across all aspects right now. Like, they can perform. They do have good ability. They are adjusted to the league and they love this football club. They are out there fighting for the badge. And that sort of stuff can be infectious, just like negativity and, toxicism. I don't even know if that's the correct word, but toxicity can be infectious as well. It can spread like, an illness or a sickness, but so can the other way. And I think with them coming in, and you have Lemons coming in, and then you have players like Elliott, Bruno is the captain. I think they're raising the levels of the rest of the players around them. And we haven't really had this for quite some time. So, Steph's here as well. Shout out Steph. Says, yo, Eric, Lyle, and chat legend. How you doing, Steph? Steph says, Casemiro, like Bruno, needs better players around him. We are getting that arguably best front three in Premier League. Well, our front three is performing. I believe it's second best in the Premier League in terms of chances created. I think that would probably only Arsenal in front of us, I assume. I don't even know if they are the ones in front of us, but we do have sort of the best performing front three at the moment. And we need more. I've been arguing forever saying that we're right there. We just need to put the goals into the net and the results will come. And we've done that over the last 3 weeks. And if we can continue to do that, and that's why, this match against Forest is going to be a big one with the way they play football. Because we're going to see if we panic on the pitch. We're going to see how far confidence and positivity and the mentality has come, because I expect probably us to have majority possession, unless we just secede to it and try and hit them counterattacking wise. It is going to be an interesting match because them setting up in a low block like that, you would assume that we would have majority of the possession of the game. We're going to control possession of the game. And it's something that, Axe has mentioned before, and it's something that we still need to probably learn and get better in. We need to be able to do the things that we're doing, that we've done in the last sort of, I would say 2 matches specifically. We need to learn how to have 65, 70% possession of the ball and then score 3 to 4 goals and dominate the game completely. We're not there yet in that sense. And we need to get there, because the last 2 matches, again, we didn't have majority possession of the game, but we won the game. So that is a little bit like pre-Amorim sort of United, where we've been trying to do this counter-attacking thing, and we're better on the counter-attack, and we're better without really having possession and, on the fast breaks and stuff like that. And we've kind of done that the last 2 matches, so we do need to figure that out. So I think it's going to be a good show, and another good test. There's a good football debate going on in here. I like it. Lucky says, as manager, my focus is team progressing, maybe push opposition players off the ball. Um, Niche fan says we need Wharton in the 6 and Anderson in the 8, and we dominate. Well, that is one of the questions. I mean, Adam Wharton or Elliott Anderson. I think many fans want both. I don't know if we can get both because they seem to cost quite a lot of money, and it is going to be a bit expensive to do that. I mean, if you go for Wharton, I don't really know what his price is going for, but I know that Forest are doing sort of a Brighton right now, and they are quoting 100 million. So, I mean, if we're going to spend and we're going to get a player, I think we might only be able to get maybe one Premier League player. Maybe we get a different we get another midfielder maybe from somewhere else. Again, I think it also depends what happens this season. You know, where we finish. If we finish in Europe, we'll obviously have more money. It'll be a lot more positive. There'll be more options in terms of more willingness for players to join as well. So we got to see what happens in terms of that. You know, we'll discuss that in a little bit more. Access sincerely, Hoyland and McTominay are fans of United as well. Well, yes, but you have to have the ability, and also you have to fit the team, and you have to fit how the team plays. And I don't know. I mean, Scott obviously, you know, we tried to play him as a CDM, and he's never a CDM, and he's not a CDM, and he's quite clearly better as sort of a 10. And he was just at that time he was just never going to play a 10. It was just never going to happen because we had one of them, and his name is Bruno Fernandes, and he plays every match and he starts every game. And he was the captain, so you know, where is Scott going to get in that? So, but he's gone. You know, and so is Rasmus. I mean, Rasmus is gone. Rasmus is, you know, we didn't really talk about this update yesterday, but the push is Rasmus's deal is going to be made permanent, and it is, you know, stepping up quite quickly, and they're probably going to make it permanent before January. So, you know, he is gone. They're both gone. So, Axes, we need to win. We need to compete for the EPL, and next season the UCL. This is who we are. Well, it is who we're supposed to be. But again, the road is sort of far away in that aspect. Maybe, possibly. I mean, we might be surprised this season. Who knows? I think this season the league is going to be quite cracking as it is already, because I mean, just look at the table. Look who's in first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Look who's, you know, where everybody is. And look how tight it is. Again, you know, 1 week, one result, you can jump like 4, 5, 6, 7 places. So I don't know. The octopus has predicted that we're gonna win the league. I don't know if that means anything. Maybe it does. Maybe the octopus has magical powers. I'm not sure. But I mean, he's predicted that we're gonna win. We do got to get back there, but again, my mind always goes back to, if you strayed the path for 10 years, you're not going to get to the end of the winning path within 1 to 2 seasons. It's just never going to happen. I don't care who you put in manager. I don't care if you combined Sir Alex, Pep Guardiola, and any other manager into one manager and made them the most super manager ever to exist on the planet in the history of forever and ever. You take over this club after 10 years of disaster and shit mistakes. They're not going to have it running in 1 to 2 years to where we want to be. So you can make progress and move in that direction for sure, and certainly and always. And that's what we're hoping we're seeing right now is happening. But to be the final product, to be, as Axe says, to compete for the EPL and ultimately win it, and then next season compete for the UCL and ultimately win it and get back to who we are, we're going to need more time to actually get there. You know, it's going to take another season or two to really be sort of that powerhouse, and stay consistently there. And then obviously for a longer term as well, not just 1 or 2 seasons and then it disappears again. So, what do you mean, who are these people? They are chatters. They are members. I don't know what you mean by who are these people. Also, there's no need to curse specifically for that. Um, but one of the updates that we did get that I wanted to bring in because I talked about the youth. We talk about the youth a lot. Obviously, with Manchester United, the youth is very important. And one of the things that I do have to say is that last season we talked about the youth a lot. People wanted the youth to come in because the team was performing quite shit and it was abysmal. And I do remember saying quite a lot that I kind of expected Ruben to sort of push the youth a lot more this season, and it hasn't gone that way because I think because we failed to be in Europe and we don't have enough matches to really do that. So I think the plan had to be adjusted to a certain degree, and I think the evidence with that being that it's being that it's been changed a bit or it's been tweaked is that one of the updates we got today is that Manchester United head coach Ruben Amorim has started to include more and more youth players in his first team training sessions in recent weeks, which I have been seeing. He has been calling up young players to train with the first team. We haven't been seeing them get on the bench. We haven't really been seeing them get any minutes. But they have been calling up quite a lot of youngsters, JJ Gabriel and others, to train with the first team. Shea Lacey has been involved and stuff like that. They continue on the update to say, the Red Devils boss has made a clear effort to integrate several academy prospects into the senior setup at Carrington as he looks to rebuild the pathway between Old Trafford's Giants Academy and the first team, a link many felt had a weakness in recent years. And I think this is what the adjustment has been. Again, I sort of like it. I have no problem with giving patience and having time, and trying to allow a plan to, like produce some fruit. And that's what I think is happening. I mean, they are calling up these youngsters to train with the first team. It's not matches, but it is good experience for them. And I sort of like it more because, again, they're doing it sort of in the privacy to a certain degree of Manchester United. Now, everybody knows it's happening because it's being reported. But what I'm saying is the kids are working on their game in the background. They're working on their game in training. They're working on their game without any real added extra pressure that comes with actually starting in the first team and playing Premier League games and being under the microscope in front of, millions and millions of people. They're doing their work behind the scenes. And I think at some point, we're going to start seeing more of them. And probably if we have a good season and we finish in a European spot, I think you could say the indication will be next season when we need a bigger squad, when we need more positions and we need to cover more positions, you will see more of them get probably more opportunities and more chances. So that is a positive update, and I have been seeing that quite recently. But my first initial thought was like, it's cool that he's calling them up, but I was like, why are they not getting called into the squad really? But I think again, they're taking a longer term approach to that. We don't have enough. I mean, Kobe Mainoo is we're all arguing for Kobe to play more minutes, and we feel like Kobe should get more minutes, and Xerxes barely getting any minutes. These are players that you consider first team players. I mean, Xerxes played a large role last season, and we all know Mainoo's story. And it's hard to get them into the team. I mean, there's no real place to really bring, a 17-year-old or 18-year-old and push them into the squad, especially at this moment in time as well, with the first team and the experienced and senior players are seeming to actually find their footing and their spot, and their level. So, just again, just out of one of these training sessions with the kids, a source close to the first team has said that training's got a real spark to it again. The young lads aren't there just to make up the numbers. Amorim wants them learning the standards and pushing for places. One player consistently standing out is Shea Lacey, A source close to the situation said he's been tearing it up, fearless, creative, and always looking to make something happen. He's really caught the eye. And this is giving me similar vibes to kind of what he did at Sporting. Because again, we've always talked about, and there was always this misconception that Ruben just went into Sporting, threw in a bunch of youth players from the get-go, and built it up from the ground up from there. He did not do that in the beginning. He did it eventually, and as the team understood his football more and started to perform more in the experienced players that he had and trusted and, could use and respected his football and his philosophies, that's when the push with the youth players started to come through. And that's when they really started making a push. That's when you started seeing a player like Giovanni Quenda, who's 17, literally starting over, all the experienced players and starting week in, week out, amongst a couple other ones. But it wasn't, he didn't do a whole team with it. I mean, there was one or two. And then there was a couple on the bench that they would get some game time thrown in. So, yeah. Axe, we're not getting Yamal. Like, that's never happening. What are you talking about? Be a little bit real. We're never getting Yamal. Yamal is never coming. Elliott Anderson is a player that plays for Nottingham Forest in the Premier League, and Adam Wharton is a player that plays in the Premier League. What do you mean you don't know who they are? Lucky says, I'm pushing some running. Tomorrow now training, guys. Go mid-block, 3 Forest, Mason, Mount, Aiden, Heaven, Lenny, Yoro, Cunha, Xerxes, Patrick Dorgo, and Ahmad Diallo. Niche fan says we made a huge mistake selling Scott. I don't think we did. I don't think we did. Again, I'm not for one of these. I'm not one of these guys. I don't really buy this sort of thing. Until you show me a player that goes from Manchester United and plays for a Premier League club and has success at a Premier League club, then I will say that maybe it was a mistake getting rid of them. But for every player that we get rid of, and famously Mourinho said, when they leave United, see if they play, how they play, and where they play. And they may be playing good, so that's like, see how they're playing. But look at where they're playing. They're not playing in the Prem. And if the Prem is the top best league, and it's the highest quality, and it has the most competition, well, I don't think that they were god-awful players, but they weren't good for United, and they weren't good in the Prem. So I don't really buy any of this. We shouldn't have gotten rid of Rashford, or we shouldn't have gotten rid of Scott McTominay, or we shouldn't have gotten rid of Rasmus Højlund, or whoever else we got rid of. I think the one for me is Alvaro Carreras, Alvaro Fernandez, yeah, because he never got a real opportunity at the football club. We prioritized Brendan Williams to try and get money for him before his contract expired. So we threw Alvaro, to the back, and he never got a real opportunity. And I think that one was a mistake. I will say that I think that one was definitely a mistake, because I think he was talented. I think he is talented. He's playing for Madrid now, and I think we made a massive mistake on that one. But the other players, I mean, Rashford had loads of chances, and again, I think he's only playing good there because it's a fresh scenery. It's a different league. Barcelona is Barcelona. They got Hansi Flick there, and he's got a lot to fight for. He needs to get back into England. It's a World Cup year, and he needs to impress at Barcelona as well. So it's different circumstances than at Manchester United. And again, Scott McTominay, I've seen Scott McTominay. Actually, I've not seen Scott McTominay, because there was a lot of games where you didn't know Scott McTominay was playing. Now, he might have been out of position, and you can make that argument, but there was no spot for him at our football club. It was either playing him where he played or being Bruno's basically substitute, which means that he was never going to play because Bruno plays 90 minutes of every game. So where was Scott going to play? Scott was just going to rot on the bench the entire time anyway, because he wasn't really a good holding midfielder. That's not his position. And even as a box-to-box, he ain't really that good because he ain't good at the defensive side. In Serie A, you can succeed. It's slower paced, and it's a different style of football. So, Niche fan says Rashford, I miss him so much. I was kind of over it, to be honest. I was kind of over the stories. I was kind of over every single show, every single week. It's a Rashford discussion. Every match we play, it's all Rashford. I think it's good that the distraction of Rashford is gone. We're here week in, week out now. We're not talking about one player anymore. We're not talking about Rashford is a problem. I mean, it was still maybe going on with Bruno a little bit, but even that's gone away now. The team, it's more focused on the team aspect, and we got a bunch of players that are all performing. Yeah, so it's, the match against Brighton was the first time since Bruno, I think it was Bruno's debut, that Manchester United scored 4 goals and Bruno did not get a goal or an assist, which tells you, or tells me, that there's an indication that we are moving away from being a one-man squad, which we have been a one-man squad for quite some time. And we're moving towards being an actual team, which means that we can actually compete. Ahmad is amazing. I really like Ahmad. I love Ahmad. And I think Ahmad is I think he's our best right wing back. Our best right wing back. I think he's our best wing back at the club, period. I like his attitude. I like his mentality. He sort of fits into that camp with Mbeumo and Cunha. He fights for the badge. He fights to do a good job, and he will do, whatever you ask him to do. If you want, I think Ahmad would like to play where Ahmad used to play, which is attacking winger or centrally as a 10, but he's gotten a new role and he's taken it on board, and he's sort of accepted the challenge, and he always gives you 100% on the pitch. He might not have a very good game every now and then, and the level might drop along with the team, but he does give you 100%, and he does try to give you the best performance every match that he can. So, in the Brighton game, he was very excellent, even showing strength, holding off the ball and fighting in many situations. He was defensively struggled a little bit, but I kind of expect that because defense is not his first, it's not his first thing. He is an attacker first and foremost, defensive second, and I still think he does decently well to do the defensive bit, tracking the runner. He does usually get a foot on the ball, whether it's a toe or whatever. So, yeah, I like Ahmad very much. We're going to have a bit of a problem when we hit the January and there is the AFCON, because we're going to lose Diallo and Mbeumo and there's somebody else, and Mazawari. We're going to lose them 3. I'm a bit afraid for that period because I think losing Mbeumo and Diallo, I think, is massive. And it could have a massively negative impact on our squad because they are very important players. And I don't know if the players behind that are going to be able to step up to the plate, which is where we need to improve as well. So, Lyle says the training is for the youth to get familiar with the first team environment for easier integration at a later stage. Yeah, and I think that needs to be done, and it has to happen. I think it's smart, and I think it's probably going to lead to what we'll probably end up eventually with patience in due time. We'll see more of them getting more opportunities for Manchester United when we can. And that's why, we have a responsibility, even to the younger guys, to give them a bigger opportunity. The first team, the senior players, have a responsibility to the younger players to make sure that this club finishes in a good position so that next season the younger players have more games and have more matches and have more opportunities, Like, if we get back into Europe, we'll have the Carabao Cup, we'll have the FA Cup, and we'll have the Premier League. They should be able to get some opportunities in that season. Unlike this season, where we only have the Prem, they bottled the Carabao Cup, and we have the FA Cup, and the FA Cup doesn't come around until January. So, I only watch United games. I don't know who they are. Well, I can't help you then. Really. You got to go watch for yourself. Niche fan says, imagine if the USA had football as its primary sport. US would dominate every tournament. Imagine LeBron, MJ, and Steph playing football. Well, who knows? Maybe they. I mean, I don't know if they would be. I mean, there are some basketball players that do enjoy football. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's not. It's not. It's never going to be the primary sport, is it? Although you would think that it would, because based on money, since this country is a very money first driven country. But I think that's why it's probably not, because they can't really commercialize it. Me and my friends have this discussion all the time. They can't really commercialize football as much as they do basketball um or NFL and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's why it's probably not made first. Also, it's not really our game. We didn't invent it, we didn't create it. Whereas NFL, we made that and we made basketball. So it is different to that extent. Joshua Xerxes starting asking position along Ahmad Diallo. Lucky says Rasmus not Premier League standard. I mean, I still would have probably gave him another chance. He looked like he had a point to prove, and I think again he had a really bad season. He had a lot at fault for himself, but also I think the team was just shit last season. So, I would have liked to see maybe have him and Sesko, because even right now Sesko still needs to find his feet. Sesko is still rough around the edges. Sesko still needs to adjust to life at Manchester United in the Premier League. And Rasmus would have been here for a third season, and he would have had at least a little bit of, would have been at least a little bit more used to the league than Sesko is. And he also does play a little bit different. I mean, he does like to break the lines quite a lot. Sesko is much better at holding up the ball and being more of a target man, but he can play not specifically just as that. He can, be a poacher as well. But I think it would have been good to have Rasmus just in case, we needed to give a little bit more time to Sesko to find his feet and, build himself up and work on himself. We don't really have that option. We do have the option of, starting a front three of Mount, Cunha, and Mbeumo. And there is technically Xerxes, even though he hasn't really been getting that. So, Axe says, so you're saying Maino has to go considering the situation of McTominay, aren't you? No, I'm not. McTominay and Mainu are two totally different situations. Number one, Mainu is about 19 years old. McTominay was not. And Mainu can play in about probably two positions. And also, Bruno is getting towards the end of him being here. So it's only a matter of time before Bruno is gone and Mainu takes the position, as he should, if he continues to put in the work that he needs to put in. So I think it's two totally different situations. Two totally different situations. Now, this season, it's a bit similar to that in terms of because we don't have enough games to play to really rotate the squad so much. So it's a bit tighter in that aspect. But if we go back to being regular European football and, if we didn't get kicked out of the Carabao Cup, we'd be playing a lot more matches. There'd be a lot more opportunities. So this season is just one that is, it's just a different season. It's unfortunate that we are here, but we have nobody else but to blame for ourselves because we lost the Europa League. And this is the repercussion that came out of it. So we have to deal with it, and we got to fix it by making sure we have a good season and getting back into Europe. But I don't think that it's the same. Where Mainu is now, where was McTominay at the time? They're two totally different players, two totally different levels, and just two totally different situations. So it is not the same. Lyle says, Eric, buddy, short show for me. Take care, bro. All right. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one. Probably gonna skip tomorrow and we'll jump back into Thursday. So Lucky says Conor Gallagher, January loan deal, striker Xerxes loan. Lawrence Berry says, how are you? Mon ami. We're replacing Casemiro, so which midfielder should play with the Bruno? Well, good question. We talked about this a little bit last time, and it depends kind of, I guess, well, it depends on a couple things, but I think the one thing probably that matters the most is not really what me and you think, although we will take our opinions as we always do. But I think obviously the biggest one is what does Ruben Amorim and I guess Jason Wilcox and etc. What is their plan for the midfield? Because based on what they want in that specific position, do they want somebody like Casemiro but younger with more legs? If that's the case and that's what we're going for and that's what they decide, if they want somebody that kind of can do both sides of the game, that is very good defensively, but is good progressively with the ball and can help in transition and attack, then you can't really go and get a Baleba, can you? You got to go for more of a Wharton or maybe even a Stiller in that degree. So it depends what they have decided is the plan for that midfield. But, for you personally, I mean, it depends what you would like to see in the midfield because there's a couple different combinations there. Also, I mean, we don't really know what's really going to happen with Bruno. He could very well stay. I still think that there's going to be a bit of talk when we get to the end of the season. Is he going to stay or is he going to go? I think that's going to pop back up. I still feel like United probably wouldn't want him to go, and I feel like Ruben wouldn't want him to go. And I think as long as Ruben and United don't try to push him out the door, then I don't think he will go. So, but it is a World Cup year as well, and he's going to play in the World Cup for Portugal. It might be his last one. I don't know, probably not because of the way he stays fit. He might get slower, but I think he's probably gonna try and shoot for another one. But that could have an impact as well. So, what I was gonna bring this up somewhere. I think I had it here. So I'll tell you right now. I think this was it here. This is not it. This is not it. Nope, can't find it. I was looking for it. I had like a whole write-up last time. I had a whole write-up on the midfield last time. We compared Wharton to Baleba to Stiller to a bunch of people. So, can't find it. One of the pieces of news that we got, though, is that 17-year-old James Overy was called up to Manchester United's first team training on 3 occasions by Ruben Amorim's staff last week. A source on Overy said he's got one hell of a future ahead of him. So again, another youth update. So very, very good. Another youth update here. And I think we will see those guys in due time. One report that we got, I don't know if you guys are interested in this, but I don't know if you noticed, but there's been a lot more flags and a lot more banners at Old Trafford. And Manchester United players and the club itself were said to be delighted with the increased number of flags in the Stretford End, as seen in Saturday's match against Brighton, and said it helped to increase the atmosphere. United have agreed to expand the area in which flags are displayed. I kind of like this. It makes it look a lot more fuller. It makes it look, I think, a lot more sort of intimidating. Um, you know, so I think we should be doing more things like that. I think even like the Tifo thing last season was really good. I think it went down well. I think they executed it very well. They were very, very, very nice, especially that big one that said we're never gonna stop, or we will never die, whatever it said. But I think they were really nice. And I think it's a good touch to the football club. And yeah, we should look to expand on it. And grow on it. So Lawrence Berry says they say Anderson is Carrick, and Stiller is the new Tony Cruz. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know. I think football has changed quite a lot. I don't think we'll see a Carrick again. I just don't think that football is played in that way. I don't think the players are coming up in that manner. I think it's it's a different type of game, and you need different types of attributes and characteristics. So I think those days of hoping to find another Michael Carrick or another Paul Scholes, I think, are gone. I don't think they were really there anyway, because I think they were sort of special, one of a kind players. So I don't really buy into those sorts of adjustments. What are those sorts of comparisons? What we need is a player that's very good for the modern game in modern times. That has the ability. That's all I really want. I'm not here saying like, let's get another Scholes. Let's get another Giggs. Like, we just need players that are going to fight for Manchester United, that have good ability, that can play in the Premier League, that fit Ruben's system, that perform week in, week out, and that get this football club and understand this football club. So, Lucky says Glazer's out. Yep. Well, that's kind of died as well, hasn't it? Lucky. To a certain extent, so. I'm outside the stadium wearing shirts. Are you really? They should get a nice big Glazer out flag, though. Although I don't know if the club will allow that, because they have to approve them, apparently. So, one update, and there was one talk about this going on. So, obviously, Jadon Sancho, his contract is running out, and Jadon Sancho, I think this is his last year in the contract, thank God. But United do have an option in the contract to extend it by a year, and United's hope was that if they send Jadon Sancho out on loan to Villa and he performs well, and he gets some interest, that they were going to activate the 1-year extension, so that they can then try to flip it into a sale to recoup some money, any money. I mean, they would literally take any money, 10 million, 15 million, over zero, because we spent, what was it, like 80 million on him, and our return on him is going to be zero, and it's going to be a flop. So United financially, they would like to recoup any money for him. He's not doing well at Villa, and the decision that's going to have to come is, if you extend his contract with the 1 year to try and get a sale from him, but he doesn't do well, you might get stuck with him for another year, and then you have to go through the whole thing of trying to get in a loan for him again, which doesn't really help our situation. The only thing that it would do is we don't have to pay his wages. But, I think, again, I said this last time, and I'll say it again, I think United just have to cut their losses with Jadon Sancho. As much as maybe they don't want to do that because they really want to get some type of money for him, I think, I just think it's done. Yeah, I just think it's done. Like, there's no hope for that guy. He's fizzled out. He's failed. He's not gonna hit any really type of good form at Villa. He didn't really do anything at Chelsea. He was very average. He had an opportunity to go there. He fucked it up himself. I don't think we're gonna get anything out of it. So I think United kind of just have to. I mean, they could kind of hope for it, but listen, if it continues the way it's going and you get to the end of the season, I don't think Manchester United can take up the opportunity to extend his contract by a year in hopes that they might get a transfer deal. I think if it continues on the way that it's going now, you just got to say, listen, we just got to get him out of the football club. We just got to let it go. We got to get the wages that he's on out of here, and we need to move on from him. He's done. We got to let it go. You know, it was a shit buy. It was a terrible deal. It was a flop of a player. It's over. It's over. Move on. We'll forget about him. You know, we don't have to mention him again. We don't have to worry about him. We can focus on the future, and we can focus on the players we have right now. So, Marcus Rashford had some things to say about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if that's interested, you know, to you. Saying that Ole is a fantastic person. I loved playing under him. I can speak for many of the players at Manchester United when I say that we enjoyed playing for him. We played good football under Ole. It was a very successful period for me personally. He is a fantastic person. I don't have a bad word to say about him. I think that's pretty... I think that was always pretty clear. They did enjoy playing under Ole. And for a period of time, my hit back to that would be, well, I would say, well, what did you guys do to him at the end? Because at the end, you gave up on him. So at the end, you down tools on him. And at the end, you stopped blaming, you stopped playing for him. And I'm not just talking about specifically about Marcus. I'm talking about, because he said for him, and he said I can speak for many of the players at United, and I'm targeting that towards the end, towards all those players that he's talking about. You know, so, I mean, there was always reports they liked him. I mean, Ole is a good guy. He's a nice guy. He's like a happy-go-lucky guy, yeah? Like, you know, how do you not, how can you not really get along with that? But at the end of the day, you guys still got him sacked. You still failed him. And you still gave up on him at the end. Because you went out there and you lost to fucking Norwich. And you lost to a bunch of other teams in that final season. So, you know. And in other news, which is somewhere. Apparently, a fan got into Carrington yesterday pretending to have a trial before being kicked out. Described as a young adult, he caused a big stir, demanding a contract from the staff, and when caught lying, said phrases like, "I can play in midfield." I think we should have led with that story. I didn't even see that, but I mean, what? A fan broke into Carrington somehow, pretended to have a trial for the United as he can play in midfield. Well, maybe we should get you back in there then. I assume people are probably like, people are saying it's this guy. I'll pop up the image. I'll pop up the image. This is why the comment section is always undefeated, yeah? Let me pull up the image for you. People were saying that this is the suspect. We have a identification. We have a photo of the suspect that has broken into Carrington and demanded a contract to play in midfield. This is the sketch. If anybody knows this man, please report to the authorities with any information about his whereabouts. There is a £1,000 reward, apparently. And this is who it is. This is who it is. Apparently, he's broken into Carrington, trying to say he could play midfield, and he's demanding a contract. I don't know if we want this, though. I don't know if we want this at Manchester United. You know, Ben 10 and all. So, yeah. Apparently, this is who it was. Oh, I just messed up the whole thing. So, yeah, people are saying it's words. Somebody's saying it's Sancho trying to get back in, isn't it? It is literally me, easiest 1K I've ever made. I don't know, that's you? You look like that? You wear Liverpool shirts? 19 minutes ago, here we go. So if you want to talk about the midfielder, I got you right now. So if you want to talk about the midfield, we got another update. Rob Dorsett from Sky Sports saying a new defensive midfielder is Manchester United's priority, as we all know. But Slow Sports News, thank you. Elliott, Anderson, Adam Wharton, and Carlos Baleba are all under consideration. The position is much more likely to be addressed in the summer than January. Thank you, Slow Sports News. You guys are the slowest sports news, and this is why you are literally dying. I mean, that was the most... And I read that because I didn't read the update. Like, it just came out, so I read it live with you. And that is the most non-update update ever. I mean, I could have made that update. I could have literally went on Sky Sports. They could have streamed my stream live to Sky Sports, and I could have made that update. And they could have put the ticker breaking news. And then I could have had a bunch of people on X and Twitter talking about, let's go, huge update. But yeah. By the way, Brian Mbeumo won the Premier League's Player of the Week. And I think we have 3 players up or 4 players up for Premier League Player of the Month as well. So, and I believe Ruben is up for Manager of the Month as well, which would be his first. So, you know, we are in a good spot. We do have, here's October Player of the Month nominees. We have Sene Lemons, Matheus de Ligt, Matheus Cunha, and Brian Mbeumo. Who would you guys give Player of the Month to out of those 4? Who would you give it to? Lemons, de Ligt, Cunha, or Mbeumo? I think it has to be Mbeumo, I would say. I think Mbeumo has probably had the biggest, most consistent impact in the month of October. I would say probably second is a tight one because I think de Ligt has been exceptional, but I think Cunha and the Lemons have had big impacts as well. So, yeah, I don't know what's happening. Okay. Yeah, I'd probably have to say that it has to be Mbeumo has to be Player of the Month, and then second for me, tough one because de Ligt's been very good, very good. I think you would do a disservice to count out de Ligt. Lemons has had a good impact coming in, but it's only been like 3 matches, so I don't know. One stat we got here is United has hit the woodwork more often than any other Premier League club since the start of the season, 7 times. We could convert a couple more of those chances. Those are more goals in the game. We'll be looking even better. I think this was from the other day. Manchester United and Newcastle are just 2 of many top clubs closely monitoring Elliott Anderson. Their interest has already been registered. Forest are aware. Key player understand for a transfer in the summer. A fee around 100 million to 120 million pounds is currently being demanded. There is no release clause. I don't know. That's going to be a tough transfer to do. Yeah. So, another one that we got from Pletigol is that United are in concrete negotiations over a transfer for AIK football striker Kevin Filling. He's 16 years old. I don't know him. He could leave AIK as early as this winter, and his price valuation is around 3 million. So again, United doing their scouting, looking at players, getting in the young players, bringing them to the youth team. Another positive. I don't know where AIK football is. I don't know what country that is. It is this Sweden? It is in the Swedish league. So, again, I like it. We should be looking for players like this all over the place. And maybe we'll see what happens. One of the updates that we got as well, I think this is a big one. Pete Hall saying that the new Ineos-led culture ensures everyone gets on with everyone. Nobody is left out of social events. That's very important. With unlikely bromances forming. I think that's very important. Xerxes and Bruno Fernandes have become even closer since bonding on the club's much-maligned postseason tour of Malaysia and Hong Kong. Matheus Cunha and Luke Shaw, hardly typical bedfellows, have struck up a strong relationship strong friendship, sorry. While Diego Dalot and Benjamin Sesko are seen spending more and more time together, Dalot helping the new arrival with his preparation and recovery, one source added. That's coming from Pete Hole. That's a very, 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 if that's true and it's accurate, that's very huge. Again, there's too many times where what the hell? There's too many times where again, if you look at the teams in the past, the squads that we had, it was very clicked up. It was very clicked up. It wasn't a team. They didn't have the chemistry like a team. They didn't play like a team because they didn't have the understanding as a team. They didn't get on with each other. You don't have to be best mates, but you have to have some sort of understanding with each other. You have to have some sort of chemistry, and that has to somehow translate onto the pitch, because on the pitch is different than off the pitch. Off the pitch, you don't have to be buddies hanging out with each other, but you still have to have the mental understanding. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the video of Dimitar Berbatov explaining that goal that he scored when he got possession of the ball in our own box and then started the play, and then he runs up the entire length of the pitch, comes up, and then scores the goal. And he explains that because he goes, I don't think Berbatov and Nani were hanging out having a cup of tea. They weren't best mates, but what they did have was understanding. And Berbatov said, I knew that Nani likes to do tricks. I knew that I had plenty of time. I didn't have to sprint 100 miles per hour to get there. He said, I knew I could go at a steady pace. I arrive a little bit late. Nani's going to do his tricks, and he's probably going to lay the ball off to the top of the box like he usually does. And that's exactly what he did. And we haven't had that forever. So this sort of team bonding that's happening, they don't have to be best mates, but they do got to be some sort of friends to a certain level. They do have to have an understanding about each other. They do have to have respect for one another. And they need to understand themselves as players, but also as human beings. They need to understand what they're like. They have to understand their tendencies. All these little details and all these little things that are hugely overlooked always, because everybody just wants to talk about tactics and formation and, if this guy's a baller, that guy's a baller. These things are way more important, in my opinion. They've always been way more important. If you don't have these pieces in place first, good luck trying to compete with a bunch of talented players that can't connect to each other. So yeah. I don't think there's anything really else that we didn't cover over. We do have Manchester United nominees for goal of the month for October. Mason Mount versus Sunderland. That was a very good goal. Benjamin Sesko versus Sunderland. In the same match. Mbeumo versus Liverpool. Maguire versus Liverpool. Cunha versus Brighton. Mbeumo versus Brighton. And Mbeumo versus Brighton again. I think the Mason Mount goal has got to be up there for the contender in number one. I mean, that play is very, very excellent. Cunha's goal was very, very good as well, though, too. Harry Maguire's winning goal against Liverpool, I mean, was an important goal. So we got quite a lot of options. I mean, October has been very, very good to us. So hopefully it carries over into the next month in November. But yeah. I lost the entire chat and everything. So, Baleba was whack in the last game. Well, yeah, I think he's down. I think he's down in performances. So, all right, but we're gonna end the show here. Hour and a half in. Good show, good discussion, guys. Listen, we will be back on Thursday. We're gonna take a day off tomorrow, unless some major breaking news happens, which I'm not really expecting anything major to happen. But if it's a sort of a big news day, we will come back in. But I'm probably gonna. We're looking to take the day off, and then Thursday we'll be back. And Thursday we will be back at the same time that we streamed today. So 8:30 p.m. UK time. That is, I didn't realize that you guys switched the clock as well. So we're only a 4-hour difference. which is fine. It doesn't really make a difference. I was about to start the show a whole. I told you guys in the Discord that I was going to start the show at 8:30 p.m. BST, which would have been at 3:30 here for me. But because the clock went back an hour, it's 4:30 here. So I almost started at the wrong time. So thankfully I realized, and we didn't do that. So yeah, shout out to everybody. Lucky says players have now been told today we get ready for new players January, men and women. Your place side not guaranteed. Well, I don't think they can be guaranteed. I mean, look at the way Ruben has been running his team. You know, you got to perform. You got to be doing the work every week for things to happen. So, shout out to everybody that smashed the like button, though. Appreciate every single one of you. Shout out to everybody that got involved in the chat. Shout out to all the members. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support. And we will see each other on Thursday. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your evenings or mornings or afternoons, wherever you're watching from. Enjoy a day off on Wednesday, and we'll come back on Thursday and we'll go again. So until then, stay safe, be good, and GGMU.